Learning to cook from scratch has been one of the best things I've done for myself over the past couple of years. It's provided time and space to learn new skills and given me a real sense of achievement when I finally get something right. It's made me truly fall in love with cooking and push the limits of what I thought I was capable of. All this to say, I'm a fan, but I do also appreciate those days when I simply can't be bothered, and a bagel here and an Oreo there will truly suffice. So if you're new here, I'm Imi. I created this space to encourage others to learn by showing what I'm trying and honestly just to share good recipes, other projects, and trying to live as sustainably as I can. So if you're into that, feel free to subscribe and give the video a like if you liked it. So grab a cup of tea and let's get into it. This morning was the last morning before I headed back to London to celebrate the wedding of one of my favourite people. I keep my morning routine fairly simple and just have a few staples I try to adhere to every day, and one of those things is taking a daily multivitamin. As a woman who's vegan and possibly thinking about having children in our future, it's really important for me to be getting the vitamins and minerals I need every day to stay healthy and on top of what my body needs. So I've been incorporating a daily multivitamin, essential for women from Ritual, who are kindly sponsoring this portion of today's video. And I've been seeing this everywhere and decided to give it a go. Essential for Women 18 Plus is USP verified, a third-party quality certification that sets one of the highest bars for product transparency. Less than 1% of multivitamins have earned this mark. Ritual is made traceable, meaning they share where their key ingredients come from and why they're there, so we know what we're putting into our bodies. Because as we know on this channel, not all ingredients are created equal. So if you're looking to give your plant-based diet a little boost, this may be a great opportunity to give Ritual a try. Ritual's Black Friday Cyber Monday sale is happening with a limited time offer of 40% off site-wide. So if you're interested, use my link in the description below. The Essential for Women 18 Plus is now $19.80 instead of $33 during Ritual's Black Friday Cyber Monday sale. Okay. Let's head to the UK and start our morning with a hot cup of Earl Grey tea and a little oat milk. I think I'm starting to believe that good sandwiches are truly my love language. And if you go to the UK, you can find a sandwich in honestly every single shop. So when I went back, of course, I decided to try a few of the products that I really like Squeaky Bean. They make really good vegan chicken alternatives that are perfect for sandwiches. So I decided to just try a few new products in this delicious baguette. I got this baguette from a local bakery who I just always love to support when I can. I also finally finished one of the Christmas presents that I was making, and so I decided to block the jumper. This was a lot easier to do at my parents' house because they have a big sink and then they have an actual good place that I can block it. I have blocked a jumper before and done this quite incorrectly, so this time I really took pains to make sure that I stretched it out to the shape that I wanted it to be and the size as well. I've been looking up a bunch of different viral tofu recipes just because I want to try and explore and expand my horizons, because if you watch my videos, you know I definitely make a lot of the same recipes. And that's totally fine. We all have our favorites, we have our easy go-tos. But I also want to just explore. In one of my local shops here, I found a chili oil that is made in Ireland, so I wanted to give that a try, and it was so good on this Silken tofu. I've been starting each morning with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. I've really been enjoying Earl Grey decaf. And it's funny because I got a comment from someone saying, "Do you think your diet has changed since you moved to the US?" And I didn't really think that it had until I spent this last month back in the UK. I'm not sure why, but I haven't really been drinking that much coffee since I got back to the UK. I maybe have one every few days, which is so wild. I think I just got back and started drinking English tea. I was like, this is the best thing ever. So I've been drinking a lot of Earl Grey tea, and I've been drinking a lot of decaf Earl Grey tea, so it's not as though I'll be getting my caffeine from somewhere else. Who knows? I don't know, there's something also about my parents, like my old bedroom here, like the bed is so comfortable that it feels like I close my eyes and I go into this crazy deep sleep. It's nice. Also, maybe I just feel like home, you know? Who knows? I'm gonna drink my coffee and I'll finally show you my progress on the muscle bra hat. And the jumper that I blocked yesterday is just still blocking, it's still wet. It'll probably take another 24 hours, maybe 30 hours to dry. Always takes a long time. But I am gonna start a cardigan. that I really want to start, that I'm really excited, is a pattern from Le Knit. But I also do need to start that crochet baby book that I talked about that I want to make. Oh, I haven't been in this position before where I've been so excited to try lots of new things. Maybe I'll do the baby book. I don't know. Okay, this is how far I've got with the Masala hat. If you haven't watched any of my knitting videos, then you might not know, but I bought this pattern from a Scottish pattern designer called Isolde, and she has some pattern called the Masala hat, and it's basically done like a tube. So you start with 8 stitches at the beginning, and then you just do loads of increases. And I'm about, I think, 28 centimeters, and I have to be 48 centimeters before I can start doing my decreases. It's not that I'm not enjoying it. I was enjoying it, but my goodness, knitting on tiny needles takes a really long time. Like a really long time. But this was some yarn I was using to make some socks, but then I just thought it's too hard. It was too hard, and then I undid it, and then I made some socks with something different just as a starter. But I just thought this was so nice, too nice to go to waste, so that's where I'm at. Every time I think that I'm gonna get further, I don't. It just takes a while. But I really, really don't like moving on to a new project when I feel like there's so much left to do with this one. Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, I'm gonna enjoy my coffee, reply to all my emails, and then we'll make some breakfast. It's a bit early for making breakfast right now. I can see a little bit of the sun poking through, so I thought we could get changed, have a quick breakfast, and then go for a walk on the South Downs. I haven't been for a walk on the South Downs for probably 2 years. I find it quite funny just how many messages I've had about people feeling nostalgic for seeing my videos or the pictures that I put up on Instagram of my parents' house. I forget that it was quite a fundamental place for growing my audience, especially during the pandemic. And it's also the place where I started to learn to cook. During the pandemic, I definitely felt like I needed something to help me just to stay sane while we were in lockdown for pretty much an entire year. And it makes me realize just how special this place is, not just for me, but also for the people watching. Because I think a lot of people learned to cook with me during that time, and it really felt like we were building a sense of community because, you know, I was sharing the good things and the bad things, and we were all kind of doing it together. That's also why I wanted to share this hike that I went on the South Downs, because I really, really got into hiking and trail running during the pandemic as well whilst I was living here. It's such a beautiful place, it's so green, and I know people complain about the UK raining a lot, but the benefits of that are you have these really beautiful downs that just are so green and lush, and you have all of these fun, you know, sheep and cows that are constantly around. Whenever I go for a hike, I always find the way down quite boring, so I just jogged on my way back because I found that so much more fun. But I would love to hear in the comments below if any of you are watching me during the pandemic, or you remember this kitchen, or if you do have any kind of nostalgic feelings towards it as well. For lunch, I decided to try another viral tofu recipe. I don't think I've ever grated tofu before, but this recipe had millions of views, so I thought, why not give it a go? This recipe is by Vegan Scratch Kitchen. He also happens to live in Colorado, just up in Longmont. And this recipe is actually fairly simple. It's just got a few spices, some oil, and you place it in the oven until it's crispy. I decided to also make the sandwich that he had made with this tofu. It has a kind of banh mi-esque to it, but it has other things like this pickle, and I used some more vegan garlic mayonnaise. And I also used a ciabatta that I got from that local bakery that I talked about. I lightly toasted it because it was a day old, and then I just layered everything up into the sandwich. I think I could have done with maybe a little bit more sauce. That was definitely my bad. But all in all, we know I love a sandwich, and this sandwich was pretty good. pretty perfect in my opinion, although it was actually rather large. For dinner, I just made the viral tofu, kind of silken tofu dressed marinated recipe. This recipe is something I see with different iterations all over the internet. And if you like silken tofu, I highly recommend. But my sister tried it and she just can't get on board with the silken tofu texture. One of my favorite things about being at home is having all of the furry little dogs around. Tut was definitely loving a lot of the attention, so I gave her plenty every single morning. I also really got back into my toast era. This morning I just couldn't be bothered to make a proper breakfast, so I just had some toast with some vegan butter and apricot jam. And I also had 2 slices. For lunch, my parents went out to a local cafe and just brought us back some salad bits, and we also had some things that were also in the fridge too. For dinner, I decided to treat my parents and my sister and make them a tofu tikka masala. I've made this recipe so many times on this channel, and it's because it's one of my absolute favorites. I started by marinating the tofu, and I did that nice and early so that when I actually made dinner it would be a lot easier and less time consuming, because I also wanted to make a spiced cashew rice, and sometimes doing those things together can be quite challenging. This recipe is by Rainbow Plant Life. If you don't know that, then well, you probably haven't watched many of my videos, because I absolutely love her recipes. This recipe was actually requested by my dad, and he requests it every single time I come to stay. He did actually request it when I went to see them in France this summer, but unfortunately it was just too hot and I couldn't find all the ingredients that I needed. So I thought they definitely deserved to have it this evening. I like to blend the sauce before adding the tofu because I just think it gives it that real authentic taste and look. Good morning. I have just made myself a cup of coffee. I'm really obsessed with all the cups, the coffee cups and the tea cups that my parents have. They just have so many different, really, really beautiful ones. Okay, so I haven't filmed for a few days because I went to London to see my friends and I've been hanging out with my nephews. So I have, in fact, finished my mussel hat. I complained a lot about how long it was taking, like a lot, because you feel like you're really there for a long time. But then you finish it and you're like, it was worth it. Because look at these stitches. I can't block it because the fit is like perfect. And I don't want it to get too big, but I'm really happy with the way this turned out. I'm really happy I persevered with the really small needles because the stitches are just so pretty. And I actually saw a woman walking in South London a couple of days ago with a really fluffy, kind of brightly coloured hat that looked exactly like this with the small stitches. So I think I'm going to try and do like the colour theory thing where you work out what colours really suit you and then make a hat from one of those colours, because I really like this hat, but I really want to start using a lot more colour in my wardrobe and use colours that are specifically part of my colour analysis or whatever. I don't really want to go to get my colours done because I can't really be bothered, and I'm sure it's probably quite expensive, but I think we can do a little bit at home where you just like put things against your face and see what it looks like. But yeah, I also started a new cardigan by La Knit, the Siri cardigan. That was not on my list. Not sure how I got into it, but it's quite challenging. Got cables, moss stitch, raglan stitches, never done a raglan piece before, so I'm looking forward to that. I've already hit a roadblock and then realised that I just didn't realise what I was looking at, so going to continue that today. I've unraveled a couple rows, which is very annoying, but it is what it is. So this weekend I have a wedding. I am going to Ireland for one of my best friends from school's wedding. And then from Ireland, I'm going back to Denver. So I only have a few more days here in Sussex, which is why I haven't been filming. I've been spending a lot of time with my aunt and uncle and my nephews and my parents and my sister. So yeah, I've been really enjoying being back in Sussex and being on the South Downs and going for little hikes. And I've already seen loads of fun wildlife, and I just love being here, even when it is grey and gloomy almost every single day. If you ever do come to the South Coast, I really recommend the Seven Sisters hike. You have those beautiful cliffs, and you have that house that was in Atonement, and it's just a really, really beautiful hike right by the sea. Yeah, so I've got a busy week ahead. Anyway, let's go and make some breakfast, and then I'm going to head to the shop to get some ingredients because I've been cooking for my parents and my sister a few times for dinner, and I want to make them some fun meals for the next 2 nights. Okay, let's go make some breakfast. This morning I decided to make a tofu scramble and use some of the kind of vegetables that needed to be used in the fridge. I also added some mushrooms and some red pepper and some cavolo nero that definitely needed to be used. I'm still in 2 minds about whether I actually like a tofu scramble. I feel like it's one of those things that people just tell you is a really good, high-protein breakfast to have. And it does kind of give the English breakfast vibe just a little bit. But yeah, I'm still deciding whether I actually like it. But I just added a ton of seasoning and had it on some really nice bread. And you know what? It did exactly what it was supposed to do. I also then spent a little bit of time working on my Siri knit cardigan. Unfortunately, I actually realised I'd made quite a few mistakes, so even though I had progressed quite far, I ended up unravelling all of this when I got home. You can see that I definitely unravelled some of it while I was there because I made quite a few mistakes. But I really enjoy the process as well as finishing a project, so it feels kind of like creative problem solving, and that's one of the big reasons why I like climbing. Because it's great exercise and it's physical, but it's also problem solving at the same time. Ralphie kept me company this afternoon while I did all this, or I guess early afternoon. He definitely was a little bit cold because he needed to have a shave, so we kept his little jacket on for the rest of the afternoon too. For dinner, I decided to make another rainbow plant life recipe for my family. I made the lemon orzo pasta. This again is just such a crowd favourite. It seems complicated because it has a few moving parts, but all of these different things so add to the flavour that it's just a really delicious meal. And I'm really glad that everyone really, really liked it too. This is a great recipe because if you like things like preserved lemons and sun-dried tomato, fresh basil, fresh garlic, it kind of incorporates all of these different and interesting flavours and then brings them together in a kind of warm pasta salad style dish. I would highly recommend this. I definitely make it on more special occasions on where I'm making it for other people. It's a bit more luxurious and obviously pine nuts are a little expensive, but I really enjoyed the process of making this and everyone seemed very excited about it. As you can tell, particularly my dad was very excited.
And very nice. Oh. 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 Oh.
Good morning. I have been working on my knitting this morning, just in between doing some meetings and some emails, but I'm going to make a breakfast. I have been experimenting with trying to make vegan croissants, and they're not perfect, but I'm really trying. And I'm actually taking a vegan patisserie course right now by Chef Clarice. She's on Instagram. She was a French patisserie chef for 10 years. And decided she wanted to go vegan. So she spent a considerable amount of time and her professional life trying to create the perfect vegan pastries and patisserie. Oh, and honestly, like, it's so hard, but it's really rewarding. So I made a whole bunch of croissants and put them in the freezer, which you can do after you've shaped them. So I'm gonna put one in the oven and have that for my breakfast, and then for lunch I'm going to be making the Rainbow Plant Life noodle salad. I make this a whole bunch, but I've been making a lot of her recipes for my parents and my sister this past week, so I'm going to make that for our lunch because I'm going into Brighton later to get a few things I need for this wedding, and then this evening I'm going over to my brother's house and we're going to, watch a film with my nephew and have pizza, and I might try and find some vegan desserts in Brighton to take over. So that's very exciting, but let's make our croissant first because who doesn't love a croissant on a grey, miserable morning that's super cozy. So the croissant I actually made a reel making them, and if you want to check that out you can. But I decided to make a whole bunch and then freeze them. As I said, I'm taking a vegan patisserie course at the moment. I accidentally burnt these, but they still tasted, pretty good. So I was happy with that. Still good. But I only had a small breakfast, basically just a croissant and a pain au chocolat, because I wanted to make the big Rainbow Plant Life noodle salad for lunch. I was making this for myself, but I was also meal prepping it so my parents could have it for dinner, as I was going out that evening to have pizza with my brother and my nephews and my sister. This recipe is really great. It has lots of different flavours, loads of vegetables. It uses edamame beans, and the sauce is so good. I've never put chili paste in a sauce before, but it makes such a big difference. I also really love the inclusion of lime juice and lime zest. I think that this can bring a real freshness to any dish using citrus, and yeah, I have made this recipe so many times, and you're going to get bored of these videos because I just make the same recipes all the time, because it's so hard to deviate when you find recipes that you just really, truly love. Oh my goodness. I am just about to make myself a cup of tea. I got home a couple of days ago and just immediately got sick. Immediately. And also because of the time difference, my eating is just completely all off. And because I've been sick, I woke up at 3:30 and I had a bagel at 4:45 and then took a nap between 7 and 10, and it's now like 3 p.m. and I haven't eaten anything else. So now I'm hungry, but I need also my cup of tea. I'm gonna make my cup of tea. I'm going to revive my sourdough starter so that when I'm feeling better in a few days, we can make some sourdough, because it really, truly is soup season. As you can tell, I'm wearing my hat and I have a blanket on inside. It's winter is coming. It's also snowed a lot since I've been gone. Still snow in the garden, it's very pretty. But for dinner last night, my husband made me a spaghetti bolognese with impossible mince. I was just really craving it, so we had that. And I would quite like the same thing again, but I don't want to eat impossible mince 2 days in a row. So I think I'm going to make the Ottolenghi roasted ragu, which might seem like a lot of effort, but really you just put everything in a pan and put it in the oven. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to have a lot because I haven't eaten anything else today. I should have broccoli, but I'm not going to. No food I'm just not craving any food. I'm just not feeling very hungry, and food just doesn't taste that good. So we do what we can. Anyway, lemon and ginger tea is the key when you're feeling sick. So we're gonna have some of that. After I had my little Oreo snack and my cups of tea, I made the Ottolenghi ragu recipe. Every time I make it, I do forget that there is just a little bit of work involved, but it was 100% worth it, because then we had it for the next couple of days when I still was feeling very ill and actually got more ill, so I did not film after this. But I also noticed I always make the same mistake and I use the wrong pan, and then I don't have enough space. So I always have to transfer it to my Dutch oven, which has a lid, which is perfect because then I don't have to use foil or anything like that. I always use a fun pasta, and that was it. Honestly, this meal is perfect every single time. It's a fan favourite. This is why I make the same recipes just all the time. When I find something that's, got a bunch of vegetables in, or some are vegetables in, good amount of protein, easy to make once you get your head around all the steps, and then you're just like, oh, actually, it's just 2 steps, and then it's done. It's hard to go back to trying new recipes, but my next meal prep video, it's a special one. We're going to be doing a lot of new recipes, because why not? Once in a while, gotta mix things up. Anyway, I'm going to enjoy this.